right. We'll call the City of Helena City Commission regular meeting to order. It is May 18th, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
City Attorney Doctor.
Here.
City Manager Lake.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Rigby.
Here.
Commissioner Gustafson.
Here.
Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Mayor Dean.
Here. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City of Helena Proclamation. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for safeguarding the places that reflect our shared heritage and for strengthening community identity, pride, and continuity. And whereas historic sites, neighborhoods, landmarks, and cultural landscapes tell the full American story and remind us of both the progress we have made and the work that remains. And whereas preservation of historic resources supports economic vitality through heritage tourism job creation, sustainable development, and reinvestment in existing communities. And whereas Helena and Lewis and Clark County are home to numerous designated historic districts and individually listed historic properties, including ranches, cemeteries, and bridges that contribute to the city and county's unique historical character. And whereas the Helena, Lewis and Clark County Heritage Preservation and Tourism Development Council, HTC, promote public engagement, education, and stewardship of historic places through community outreach initiatives. And whereas the public is invited to attend the unveiling of a new historic sign at the Lewis and Clark County Hospital Cemetery at noon on Wednesday, May 20th, 2026, highlighting the importance of preserving and interpreting local history. And whereas all people are created equal is the theme for the National Historic Preservation Month 2026. Now, therefore, I, Emily K. Dean, Mayor of the City of Helena, do hereby proclaim May 2026 as National Historic Preservation Month throughout the city, and I call upon the people of Helena and Lewis and Clark County to join their fellow citizens across Montana and the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set forth my hand and caused the seal of the City of Helena, Montana, be affixed this day, 18th day of May, 2026. And I believe we have Miss Mayfield and a couple of the HTC board members to join us up here at the podium.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the Commission and Manager Lake and City Attorney. Thank you very much for this proclamation. I'd like to introduce some of the members of the Heritage Tourism Council who are here today. Chris Averill, who is the chair of the board, Michael Hall, and Tanya Hintz. They're three of the 7-member board. It was mentioned in the proclamation about the unveiling of the historic sign on Wednesday at noon. That cemetery, the former Poor Farm Cemetery, is on North Benton, north of Custer. It's past the Lutheran church out there, so it's on the right-hand side instead of the left side where the church is. So you just go a little bit past that church. And it's city parkland. It doesn't really look like anything. You can't really tell that it used to be a cemetery other than the ground is kind of uneven where some of the graves used to be, but there are no markers there. A couple other things I'd like to mention. The City County Heritage Tourism Council is doing an online historic survey, and to find out how well do people know what the Historic Preservation Program does, how well do they know what this group does, and how can we improve, and ask for ideas on that. That is open until June 30th, and people can go to the county's website, which is where it resides, at lccount.gov/historic, and that'll take you right to the survey. And the results of the first survey that they did last year are also posted there. So it's a two-part survey. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that they are working on a directory of historic preservation contractors. Hopefully that'll be available by the end of this month. And so far it's looking like it'll be really well received and well used.
Great.
So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. And I'll also say that your chair has been quite persuasive to many groups in promoting the survey, so thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, our next agenda item, consent agenda, resolution declaring various vehicles owned by the city of Helena to be surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of that property.
Mayor Dean.
Commissioner Gustafson.
Thank you. I had some questions on some of the items on the consent agenda, so I asked that we could move it off of consent.
Yep, so we will move it off the consent agenda, and I guess I'm gonna look to the city clerk and the city attorney. Do we need to move that down to regular items, or can we discuss that right now?
Mayor, Commissioners, you can discuss it right now
Okay.
on the agenda.
Wonderful. Commissioner Gustafson.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. So my questions on the consent agenda were the last three items that were listed as transit buses. So there we go. They're for Director Konopke. Hello, Director Konopke. I had questions about these three buses that all seem to be 10 years old or younger. So some of my questions were, what's the average lifespan? And I understand if you won't be able to answer all these. What's the average lifespan of these type of buses? Were these the only buses that have the racks for bikes on them? And, you know, why are they being surplus now instead of later? I think those are my questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So I'll start in the reverse order. They have some issues, the two RBOCs, the larger of the two, 635 and 603, 603. They have an air ride suspension that operates not only some of the primary functions of the bus, but also the kneeling portion of the bus. Those manifolds, we have replaced numerous bits and pieces of that. The manifolds are no longer manufactured, and there is no identified replacement for that. And so even though that we have replaced them, it's not a reliable piece of equipment to send out onto the roadways. And then those buses, for whatever reason, the one has a transmission issue, and then the cost of maintenance has just been escalating over the years due to limited parts. They're not a traditional bus that comes off an assembly line. They're basically kind of a cabin chassis that were retrofitted into a bus. So some of the pieces and parts definitely have been obsolete. So that's the two big ones. And the other one has the excessive transmission system leak. It has some exhaust system issues, and that one was slated to be replaced and has been replaced by one of the newer gas transit vans. These three did have basically a bike rack. We still have some of our fleet, the cutaways, the ones that are predominantly purple, or as the technical term, indigo blue. They still have the bike rack capabilities. We're looking into retrofitting some of the transit vans for bike racks, but what we were told is that there are some issues with the collision sensors that are in the front end of the bus that basically preclude putting anything in front there. They also sometimes have a tendency, depending on the bike and the nature of what's on the bike ride higher in the racks and start to obstruct some of the driver's view. The current bus transit vans that we have, they load ADA passengers from the rear, so wheelchair passengers from the rear. So it could be a possibility, but we'd have to have some type of swinging arm for the bike rack in the back so that the gates could come down and load passengers. But we're continually looking into seeing what we can do to accommodate that. And did I answer all those, or I forget one?
My first one was the average lifespan
Oh,
of these kind of units.
Mayor and Commissioners, it
Buses.
really depends on the use. We're anticipating the gas transit vans to having a longer lifespan just because they're gas, they're not as hard, the winters aren't as hard on them. But 8 to 15 years, depending on some buses, we've gotten a little bit, towards the longer end, but we've had shorter ones too that have just been continual mechanical issues. So it really depends on the bus.
Thank you, Mayor Dean, and thank you, Director Knopke. I brought this, I appreciate the context. For those who do not follow all our meetings, we had a long transit discussion at our last admin meeting, so it was on our mind. And I was concerned that these items, or these buses were being surplused just because of the change of use. But I appreciate hearing that they really are assets in need of repair. So one last follow-up question. The current cutaway purple buses, those are our largest buses? And how many people do they hold? Bus? Thanks.
Mayor and Commissioners, I don't have an exact number, but like in the mid-teens. A couple are bigger and a couple are a little bit smaller, but mid-teens, and so.
I don't have any more questions.
Any additional questions or comments from the commission? Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Okay, seeing no public comment and no final discussion from the commission, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Dean,
Commissioner Logan.
I would move to approve a resolution declaring various vehicles owned by the city of Helena to be surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of that property.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion?
Mayor Dean, I'll just add that I appreciate having my questions answered, so I'm ready to move forward.
Awesome. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Rigby.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson.
Aye.
Mayor Dean.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
All right, we'll move on to communications or proposals from commissioners. Any discussion from the commission? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to report of the city attorney. Madam City Attorney, anything to report?
Mayor, Commissioners, nothing to report tonight.
Okay, report of the city manager, Ms. Lake.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, Commissioners and members of the public. Just as a thank you to all who celebrated Police Week last week, we really appreciate you honoring our police officers and the mayor for stopping by and providing a proclamation last week. That was great. To wrap up this week, I did want to recognize two of our outstanding members of our police department, Officer, and bear with me with this pronunciation, Otonelli was named Officer of the Year in recognition of his exceptional service and dedication to our community. And in addition, Officer Strandberg received the Stork Award for his role in helping deliver a baby safely. Definitely a remarkable example of the many ways that our officers are serving above and beyond the call of duty, and we really do appreciate our local media for helping to highlight some of those as well for us. Next, a quick update on our opioid settlement funds. So for those of you who are not aware, in 2022, Montana secured about $80 million through a national settlement holding major pharmaceutical distributors accountable for their role in the opioid epidemic. The fire department here has identified an innovative and impactful way to strengthen our community response in response to this crisis. So they have proposed utilizing $57,000 for specialized training, education, and critical medical equipment. The department is equipping personnel with the tools and knowledge needed to better support individuals in crisis and connect them with available treatment and recovery resources. And I just think this is a great example of how our fire department is proactively continuing to meet their commitment to care for the community and for public safety. Next, I do want to wish you all a happy EMS week. If you see members of our EMS community, I would ask that you join us in expressing our gratitude throughout the EMS folks in our city. EMS week has historically been a time to recognize and honor the community contributions of first responders who provide emergency medical care. This year's theme across the nation is improving outcomes together. And so in alignment with this theme, our fire department has been working on instituting a quality assurance, quality improvement process for the department. This involves department members reporting through our record management system incidents to the QAQI committee. And this triggers the committee to evaluate the incident documentation, incident times, the care provided, actions taken, and the lessons learned from a particular incident. This committee, made up of chief officers and Captain Doug Fisher, the EMS program manager, has completed its first round of incident reviews, and the reviews revealed a number of critical patient encounters in both the trauma and medical realms of EMS. So again, want to express our gratitude from the city to our EMS community. Lastly, just want to express gratitude again for our community listening session. It's centered on our Parks Department. I thought it was just a great overview of the many services and programs that our Parks Department provides to this community. Also want to invite you to our next community listening session. It will be June 2nd at 5:30 to be held at Lewis and Clark Brewery. You heard that right, that is primary election day. We are hoping that you will feel very strongly about your civic duty, turn in your ballot, and then come and learn about ways that you can serve in the community through the city's various programs, whether that be employment, volunteer opportunities, or boards and committees. So we look forward to seeing you all there on June 2nd. And with that, that concludes my update. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Lake. Any questions or comments for the manager?
Mayor
Yes, Commissioner Rigby.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I think everyone needs to give City Manager a congratulations on her recent graduation from college. I believe you just got your MBA. So,
Oh,
yes.
congratulations. I didn't know that. That's why her stress levels look so much lower. Any other comments from the commission? I just want to, you wrapped up with the community listening session, and I would highly encourage folks to come to our next one. The first two, I think, have been great, and the number of those in attendance has seemed to double each time. And so we had a couple dozen at the last one, and I'd love to see 3 dozen at the next. But very grateful to the staff and public who participated in our parks listening session last Friday. All right, with that, we will go ahead and move on to communications from the Helena Citizens Council. Ms. Hausrath.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Ann Hausrath, District 2 of HCC. We are currently developing specific recommendations for you on the budget regarding specifically transportation, parks and rec and open space, public works and animal control. And we are requesting that we allow a brief scheduled time on your agenda before approval of the preliminary budget. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hausrath. Any questions from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Looking to the city manager, do we have an opportunity for us, an update from HCC prior to the June 15th adoption?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. We were just discussing about where we can fit that in. We will make sure that we make that happen.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to our regular items. Regular item A, consider resolution of intention to approve the work plan and budget for the Helena Tourism Business Improvement District and to levy an assessment on all property within the district for fiscal year 2027 and to set a public hearing on June 1st, 2026. Ms. Danielson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commission. So tonight we have a resolution of intention in order to approve the work plan and budget for the Helena Tourism Business Improvement District. Executive Director Andrea Opitz came to the May 13th meeting and presented the work plan for the TBID and the budget. At the time it was, I prepared this memo. I will make a note that is the budget was a preliminary budget that's in this packet. They have since finalized their budget to $604,794, and that'll be reflected in the final packet in the resolution, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention tonight. So Ms. Opitz went through the work plan and answered some questions, and she's here tonight if you have any further questions about the work plan or budget for fiscal year 27. There is one item change in their assessment option. They are proposing to go from a $2 per night to a $4 per night fee for stay in order to support increasing costs and wanting to expand some of their outreach. So if you have any other questions on that, I'm here, or Ms. Opitz is in the audience. She can come up and answer any questions.
Okay, are there questions or comments from the commission on the TBID work plan or budget? Yes, Commissioner Rigby.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for hanging out with us till 10:30 at night in our admin meeting. Thank you. I know I asked some more questions at 10 o'clock, and I appreciate the answers. I know we were all getting a little tired, so still learning on TBID and the BID. So I also want to thank the BID. I know they're next, but I'll just say it now. Thanks for hanging out till 10:30. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no questions or comments, is there any public comment on the TBID work plan or budget? Any public comment? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mayor Dean, I have no public comment online.
Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Dean,
Yes, Commissioner Reed.
I move to approve a resolution of intention to approve the work plan and budget for the Helena Tourism Business Improvement District and to levy an assessment on all property within the district for fiscal year 2027 and to set a public hearing on June 1st, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigby,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Dean.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we will move on to item B, consider resolution of intention to approve the work plan and budget for the Business Improvement District and levying an assessment on all properties within the district for fiscal year 2027 and to set a public hearing on June 1st, 2026. Ms. Danielson.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Tonight, we also have the resolution of intention for the Business Improvement District to establish their work plan and their assessment for fiscal year 2027. Executive Director of the Business Improvement District, Alyssa Ryan, presented her budget and her work plan to the Commission on the May 13th administrative meeting. They have no changes that they're proposing in their assessment methodology, same as a prior year, and the assessment is expected to raise about $360,600 a year, which is about the same as in fiscal year 2026. And Ms. Ryan is here in the audience if you have any further questions for the work plan or budget for the BID, or I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Questions or comments from the Commission? Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Not a question, just a comment for those who were not at the admin meeting, which was lengthy. There was a great deal of information presented by both the BID and the TBID, which was really helpful in understanding the breadth of what they are doing for our community. And I think it's great on both counts to see how they are helping to market the super cool events and things we have going on all the time in Helena. So thank you to both of you for all of your work.
Any additional questions? I do have a couple questions. And I think this is probably, Dr. Danielson can take them if you want, but I have a feeling that the executive director might want
Okay,
them.
I might just have Ms. Ryan come up to the
Thank you.
podium.
And I apologize, I was not at the last meeting because I was on my honeymoon, so I'm sorry that I wasn't part of the lengthy discussion. This has come up the last couple years, particularly for the BID, because I think most people in the public don't actually have a thorough understanding about what a business improvement district is. All the properties within the district are assessed an amount to provide service above and beyond what city services are for everyone else in the community. And one of the things that has come up over the last few years is around, what are the value of that assessment to the properties in the district. And I know Commissioner Reed just kind of spoke to this. The TBID has like $195,000 marketing budget to market Helena and business. And marketing is also beyond personnel. Marketing is like one of the highest expenditures in your budget. So I guess, can you talk a little bit about how you all either eliminate duplication? And I think the biggest piece is that, and this is where my head is, one of the things that we've talked about the last couple of years is how we need to really figure out ways to maximize our dollars downtown to improve infrastructure, experience, the rest within the function of the BID. So I wonder if, can you maybe talk about reducing duplication of effort and maximizing our dollars?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, members of the commission. It's my pleasure to answer your questions. As you mentioned, Mayor, the assessments that the BID gathers are just from property owners in the district. Our marketing budget is used for social media, and we actively only promote businesses and building owners downtown in the district. So we really seek, we do not attempt to market anything outside of the district. We feel that that's our charge and our duty to the building owners who pay that assessment. So it's strictly in the district. We are using a lot of our dollars for, as I mentioned, social media. We have a lot of plans for additional beautification downtown this year, as well as working on Constitution Park with the Parks Department. We also fund a number of the smaller events, which I believe that the TBID is using their marketing dollars for larger Helena. We seek to keep events downtown to draw people, have them come downtown, spend their dollars. Economic vitality is always top of mind. Showing people that, potential business owners and building owners, that people will come downtown to celebrate, to spend their dollars. We're also spending a lot of our resources in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce and TBID on wayfinding. And if we have some additional expenses in that area, and those expenses will come from the marketing budget. So.
Okay, great. I may have some additional questions after this meeting before June 1st. This is like consistently a topic of conversation, and I think one that, especially since the dissolution of DHI, so I'll follow up with you and Director Danielson and city managers just so I feel good before June 1st. But it's one of those things that continuously comes up about how are we actually providing service above and beyond in the BID to make the assessment worthwhile to the property owners.
Absolutely. I look forward to those. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any additional questions or comments from the commission? Okay, seeing none, is there any public comment? Any public comment? All right, seeing no public comment, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Dean?
Yes, Commissioner Rigby.
Thank you. I move to approve a resolution of intention for the FY27 work plan for budget for the Business Improvement District and levying an assessment for all properties within the district for fiscal year 2027 and to set a public hearing on June 1st, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigby,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Dean.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Regular item C, consider adoption of the Greater Helena Metropolitan Planning Organization's MPO Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. Mr. Weingartner.
Today. My name is Ty Weingartner. I am the Greater Helena Area MPO Manager, and I'm here to present for your consideration the adoption of the MPO's Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. The adoption of this plan is required for the City of Helena to be eligible for the Federal Safe Streets for All grant, and that grant does provide critical funding for safety improvements in our community. So the safety plan embodies a collaborative, data-driven initiative to enhance safety for streets, sidewalks, and public spaces for all users, including pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, and public transit users. Adoption of this plan will enable Helena to make significant progress in reducing traffic-related injuries and fatalities, while also improving the quality of life for residents and visitors. The Comprehensive Safety Action Plan outlines a clear strategies, measurable objectives, and actionable steps to address the most urgent safety concerns in our community. It is informed by local data, is guided by community input, and is aligned with established best practices in transportation safety. Adopting this plan establishes a clear framework for advancing the well-being of the community and positions Helena to lead in safety and livability initiatives here in the area. One of the topics I talked about was public involvement, which I think is crucial to this plan and for your consideration. If I knew how to turn the screen on, I would do it and show it to you.
I think.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Just a slide behind you. It's just a timeline of lists of all the public involvement that the MPO has taken in developing this plan. As you can see on the far left, that is our first public outreach from October to October 31st, meeting with groups here in the Helena area, hosting in-person events in both Helena and East Helena. Then also we did the same thing in February 16th through March 20th, meeting with different community members and community organizations, holding open houses, and also having a virtual meeting or virtual online presence for a commenting map. All this data has been presented to both the MPO's governing bodies, the TTAC and the TPCC, as well as presented to the joint city and county commissions. I think from the side, I'd like for you all to rest assured that this plan has received input from our community members and has been built into this plan. That's it for my media presentation. I'm open to any questions.
All right. Questions or comments for our MPO project manager? Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mayor Dean and Mr. Weingartner. We did get a question from the public about whether or not the committees had approved this plan. Can you talk through, looking at the timeline, I can't really see how that works.
Mayor Dean and Commissioner Reed, yes, absolutely. If I can look to the far right on April 20th. So this plan has not been formally adopted by the MPO. And the reason why that is the timeline initially called for the safety plan to be adopted by the MPO in April, and it is ready in draft form. However, the TTAC felt that we would wait to formally approve it with the long-range transportation plan in September, just in case there's any minor adjustments to be made. We don't foresee any minor adjustments to be made to this plan. However, the TTAC, in discussing the opportunity to go for a Safe Streets for All grant, decided that this was an opportune moment for a member entity to take advantage of. And the kind of the thought process on this is This grant funding comes from the bipartisan infrastructure grant. This grant is set to sunset in September of 2026. Now, historically, over the past 10, 12 years, any funding that comes from this grant, an entity has to have a safety action plan. However, it is unknown for the TTAC and MPO when the transportation build is renewed, how much funding would be available. We do know from our knowledge is that the Highway Trust Fund, which is built out of gas tax, is, for lack of a better term, is running out of money. The taxes that were part of this gas fund has not been changed since, I believe it was 1993. And with the invention of high-efficiency vehicles and electric vehicles, we see that money go down. The TTAC felt is in our best option that we knew that we now qualify for available funding. Our safety plan was very close to adoption by the MPO, that we would like to have partner entities take advantage to apply for this grant.
And Mr. Weingartner, for Commissioner Reed, one thing I might just add, we did have, I serve on the National League of Cities Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. We had a committee meeting on Friday. And there we get legislative updates from the U.S. Congress with IIJA, which is the big transportation bill, and then the Safe Streets for All reauthorization. They are quite concerned about the Safe Streets for All reauthorization not being successful or taking quite a bit of work to get over the finish line. And so time is of the essence if we want to get in under this, because the depending on what happens in November, reauthorization needs to happen soon, and so we may be out for quite a while in terms of reauthorization of the Safe Streets for All funding cycles. Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Just a quick follow-up. So timeline-wise, this is the grant we just submitted for 2 roundabouts, and we need to approve this in order to be eligible for the grant we already applied for.
No, we got those. Are you talking about the?
It sounded like we needed this to be approved for some.
Mayor Dean, Commissioner Reed, if I may. So the last commission meeting, I believe it was the last one, the commission voted that the city would submit an application for the 2 roundabouts. The application has not been submitted yet. Before we submit the application, the city, in this case, would have to have a safety action plan adopted. That is one of the requirements for this grant.
Just a last quick comment. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. As I said previously, I am concerned that we are using Safe Streets for All grants to make cars move more quickly through our community, and I am concerned that on page 12 of the plan, we have a number under 7.3 of non-motorist involved strategies, and I would have liked to have seen more opportunity for more involvement on elevating some of those projects for these funds. But that said, again, I appreciate all your work on this. Thank you.
Mayor Dean, Commissioner Reed, if I may respond to that question. I'll do the best I can, but if I may change the slide. One thing I want to hopefully ensure you is that non-motorist or non-motorist projects have absolutely been considered in this plan. This plan, it looks at how can make safe streets, whether it be crossing, walking to school, or riding a bike. If you look at these projects here, these are just examples of some of the projects that this plan has identified that concerns pedestrians, bicycle safety, and crosswalks. In this plan, this is shows a recommendation of the projects. That the safety plan more provides a framework on how to provide safety and localize certain areas. The long-range transportation plan, the LRTP, which will be hopefully adopted in September, that really lists out the projects, the specific projects for all types of transportations. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, any additional thoughts? Yes, Commissioner Gustafson.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I had a kind of follow-up on what you were just saying. On page 67 of the plan, page 14 of the plan, there's a table of the project recommendations. and it says that they're not ranked in priority or need, but then they will be prioritized during the LPR. Can you speak to a little bit about how that process happens, when the priorities start getting made and when we'll see those?
Mayor Dean, Commissioner Gustafson, excuse me. That's part of the long-range transportation plan where the projects are prioritized. So right now, what the members of our Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, our lower governing body is looking at, is all the projects that the MPO could take on, whether it be a need, a want, or future. So these projects right now are currently being identified. Those projects then to be submitted to the federal government has to be put into a category. So the first category is fiscally constrained. So it's those projects that the city, the county, or Helena has money already assigned to it. The next bucket is really that 5 to 10 years where we have identified funding. We may not have the money yet, but it's an opportunity that we could get the funding. That last group, and I'm going to totally ruin this word, but it's illustrative, but it's those fundings that is more of a wish list. So those projects we put into buckets. Then how we rank those projects, especially in those last two, is one is that the TTAC will prioritize based upon a numerous of data points. And it could be data that has not been identified yet, but it could be a number of injuries, could be ranked as 1 to 5. A community priority could be another ranking. It could be a commission priority, whatever those are, but the lower body will rank those. It will then go out for public comment. The public can also provide their input on the rankings of it. And the last approval will be done by our governing body, the Transportation Policy Coordinating Committee.
A follow-up, if I may, Mayor. Can you just expand on how the community priorities and commission priorities get established? Is that, I assume the land use plan comes into play and some of these future listening sessions? I guess the question, will the public have time to help identify some of these priorities?
Mayor Dean, Commissioner, yes, the public will be able to help identify the priorities. The TTAC will provide the first example of it, but the public can have input too on how to rank and which priority has more weight per se.
And for those members of the public, the TTAC is the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee.
That's correct, Mayor. Mm-hmm.
All right, any additional thoughts? One thing I may just add, I think I'm very supportive of getting this approved by the commission, and then if we need to adjust in September when we adopt a long-range transportation plan, I think we should do that. I think that being eligible for this Safe Streets for All, while it is still available, is really important, especially when you consider one of the projects, and I'm going to look to the transportation director, will reduce the conflict points from almost 30 conflict points down to 9. And I think that's, significant in ensuring we have safe streets for all. So with that, any final discussion from the commission on the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan? Okay. Seeing none, is there any public comment on the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan?
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. I have been following this. I have participated in the public outreach. I think Mr. Weingartner and the committee and the consultant have done an excellent job of reaching out to the public. Normally, I would say that this is the cart before the horse, that the MPO should have a public hearing on this. In my estimation, there are significant parts resulting from the public input that need to be included that are not yet included. However, I see the need, given the uncertainty of future funding, it's necessary to have this before you apply for the grant. My concern is, as I have stated before, the roundabout does not fit the requirements for a Safe Streets for All grant, in my estimation. It does not make it safer for walkers or bicyclists. I also am very concerned about the public process here. I could encourage you to adopt this for the funding reasons. What I am concerned about is, as far as I can tell, the city commission is on record as saying what should be done at the mini malfunction junction is keep the stop signs and do pedestrian improvements. So what I wish you were doing, because I'm all in favor of applying for federal government for Safe Streets for All, what I wish you would do, and I don't have any expectation given the time frame, is I wish that you had applied for this grant for the pedestrian improvements. There are not only implementation funds, as I understand, but there are also design funds. If we had applied for those pedestrian improvements, it would fit the meaning of the grant. Right now, I don't think this is a good public process, and I don't know, I'm in favor of adopting it, but it's not complete, and the roundabout, in my estimation, is the real stickler, and it's still there. It's in the safety plan, even though the commission voted to keep the stop signs and stop work on the roundabout. Thank you.
Any additional public comment? Okay, seeing no additional public comment in the room or online, are there any additional questions or comments from the commission?
Mayor Dean.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Just to reiterate, I will vote to support the plan, but I want to be clear that I do not support the project that we are trying to apply for and therefore approving the plan sort of out of turn for. I don't want to block the ability to apply for funding, but I really would prefer that we had not sort of rushed this process through in order to apply for a grant, particularly for a project that I don't think is a good one. Thanks.
Right, any additional comments?
Mayor Dean,
Yes, Commissioner Logan.
I would simply echo those comments. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Any additional comments? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Dean,
Yes, Commissioner Rigby.
I move to adopt the recommended adopt the Greater Helena MPO Comprehensive Safety Action Plan to ensure SS4A funding eligibility and advance the city's commitment to reducing roadway fatalities and serious injuries.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigby,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Dean.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we will go ahead and move on to public hearings. Public hearings, item A, consider a resolution to set fees for the Transportation Systems Department. Deputy Director Cooey.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So, in traditional public hearing fashion, we should have a hear ye, yes, for rates. I'll keep it pretty brief so we can see if there's any questions to come back to. So tonight, the final resolution to adopt the fees for the Transportation Systems Department. The ROI was done 2 weeks ago here. We've had what I would probably call a plethora of various different meetings discussing these rates, both in our budget meeting with the commission back in April, at least 3 or 4 times with our parking advisory committee. And then in our meeting last week, we discussed the transit scenario, right? But again, so the only thing that is proposed for changes still in this resolution are the parking rates. I think at this time, I'll just kind of open it up and see if you have any additional questions for me to answer about it.
Thank you, Mr. Cooey. Any questions or comments for, yes, Commissioner Gustafson?
Mayor Dean, thank you. So during our last week's admin meeting, we were talking about transit rates and if it was possible to have any data about changing those rates before this meeting. Can you let us know what that decision was on data for changing transit rates?
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm going to defer to the city manager.
Sure, happy to take that. Commissioner Gustafson, the email I sent you earlier, I outlined this, but for the record and for the public, our transit issues, as we identified in our previous meeting last week, these are going to be ongoing issues for this year. Because of our budget timeline, we are recommending that you approve as is, with the caveat that we do plan to bring you back more information next cycle for consideration so that we can begin to address these issues.
A follow-up, if I may, and maybe for the city manager or for Attorney Doctor, can transit rates be changed outside of the budget cycle?
Mayor, Commissioner, yes, you can. However, there are processes and administrative back work that changes with changing of fees. And so doing it once a year is helpful because you only have to change those once a year then. So I would defer to Deputy Director Cooey for any more detail, but that's the general consensus about it. Legally, yes, you can change them. Administratively, it may not be advised.
Thank you. I'm just mostly trying to learn the process and how we make some of these decisions on complicated issues. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Not a question. If you will indulge me, a comment from someone who could not be here, but I think in light of our discussion, it sounds like we're not recommending any changes. But from the admin discussion last week and from the article that came out this morning, I'm going to just some food for thought from a friend of mine, Jacob Krisovich, who's the chair of the ADA committee and wanted to share his thoughts in his personal capacity. He was unable to be here tonight. He is a resident of the city and the legislative director of the National Federation of the Blind. He listened with great concern to the recent discussion surrounding the $140,000 budget deficit facing Capital Transit. What struck him most profoundly was not the figure itself, but the degree to which the conversation revealed how disconnected our city's leadership has become from the lived realities of Helena's residents. Those of us who cannot afford the financial burden of vehicle ownership, who are precluded from driving by disability, and for whom rideshare services represent an unattainable luxury. This community has long and repeatedly expressed frustration that our public transit system has been chronically underfunded and neglected. We have voiced with equal consistency our dismay over the woeful inadequacy of our sidewalk infrastructure. To illustrate with an example, I live near Fort Georgians Elementary School and would welcome the option to walk to work as an alternative to transit. Yet despite my proximity to both a school and a golf course, the Villard Street corridor lacks sidewalks entirely, and Benton Avenue offers no safe railroad crossings for pedestrians. This is not an isolated deficiency. It is representative of a citywide failure of infrastructure. I am completely blind and cannot drive. Many others in the disabled community share this reality, regardless of their financial circumstances, which means without the transit, we are homebound. I'm a full-time employee of the state of Montana. I'm married, my wife serves as a public school teacher, and we have 2 young sons involved in a wide array of activities. And yet, I cannot drive, and in far too much of the city, I cannot walk safely either. This is why the quote, "The issue I see with the transit district is that it's subsidizing a service that few utilize in the community," landed with such force. I am not reading between the lines when I say the statement communicates with unmistakable clarity that people like me do not matter. It does not matter that I work full-time and pay taxes. It does not matter that I volunteer my time in service to city committees. It does not matter that I need to transport my children to appointments, to activities, to the ordinary obligations of family life. It does not matter that I need to purchase groceries. It does not matter that I am a contributing, present, and engaged member of this community. According to the logic embedded in that statement, I do not matter. This is not just a budget line. This is communicating to Helena's disabled residents, our elderly neighbors, our veterans, and everyone who depends on public transit that their presence in the city is an inconvenience, that they are, in effect, not welcome here. My family is here, my roots are here, and yet I find myself with increasing urgency wanting to leave, not because I do not love Helena, but because I am exhausted by the experience of being made to feel invisible by those entrusted to govern it. Let me be unambiguous. Public transit is not an optional amenity. It is an essential service. To allow capital transit to collapse or to diminish its accessibility would be to accelerate the growth of our already neglected unhoused population, a population we have consistently failed to adequately support. One proposal on consideration, and I will take responsibility individually for having asked questions about increasing rates, has been the elimination of subsidized fares for qualified recipients. I must respectfully explain why this approach is both economically untenable and morally indefensible. The maximum monthly SSI benefit is $994. I invite every member of this body to pause and genuinely reckon with that number. For context, a full-time worker earning Montana's minimum wage takes home approximately $1,700 per month. People with disabilities receiving SSI are already surviving on roughly half of what we have determined is the minimum acceptable wage for working adults. If subsidies are eliminated and fares rise to $4 per ride, 12 round trips per month, 12, would consume 10% of a recipient's entire monthly income. 12 round trips. That is not freedom of movement, that is rationing. It does not allow for groceries, medical appointments, errands, and certainly not for any measure of civic or societal participation. I ask you, what would your life look like if you were permitted only 12 uses of your vehicle per month? The constraints would be comparable and the impact on dignity and independence would be profound. The same applies to our elderly residents, veterans, and others living on a limited income. To cut these subsidies would be to once again declare that Helena's residents, its veterans, its elderly, its disabled citizens are expendable. We may be few, but we are not expendable. We are neighbors, taxpayers, parents, professionals, and community members who make this city better. I would encourage this body to look to peer communities for models of success. Missoula has achieved fare-free transit. Butte, with a population comparable to Helena's, operates a robust and functional system. These outcomes are not accidental. They reflect deliberate investment and political will. Helena is capable of the same. And so again, recognizing we are not talking about rate increases now, I think it's important that as a body, when we are talking about transit rates and the budget overall, that we consider the perspective of somebody who was not able to speak for himself this evening. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Gustafson.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Since we're looking at all three of these, I wanted to switch to a question about the parking fees, which are changed. Wondering if there has been any public comment received in the last few times we've talked about this, since the last few times we've talked about this.
Mayor and Commissioners, no, none that's been brought to my attention.
Can I ask a question of the Parking Advisory Committee? I wondered if the Parking Advisory Committee has received any comment, or I guess you could answer that too, but, or done any outreach since this proposal has happened.
Sure. So, Mayor and Commissioners, as far as a proposal, not, I would say officially, I'm happy to let one of the representatives come up here and maybe talk about what they've done in their own time, not necessarily in the room. Prior to all of this, we did do the survey through My Helena app. So I can go through a couple of those results, because the fees were not the focus of it, but were a piece of it. So we had 436 total responses on that survey. And for the questions that were relevant to the fees, we had 46% of those people said that they were willing to pay anywhere between $1.50 and $2 for the hourly parking. There was only 23 people that thought it should be free. And then I think overall about 61% of those people said anywhere between $1.50 and $20. And then less than $1 was only 13%. So those are some of the outcomes that were specific to the fees. And so if you'd like to hear from the advisory committee, I'd be happy to let them.
If a member of the Parking Advisory Committee would be interested in, your name has been invoked.
Mayor Dean and Commissioners, my name is Seth Brandenberger, and I'm the chair of the Parking Advisory Committee. And we've spent over a year and a half learning all the issues that have to do with parking and trying to find reasonable solutions and I think a lot of times coming up with good solutions. I've also been a member of the Business Improvement District for 4 years and have been heavily involved with parking, have had several meetings with parking through that organization. Our number one recommendation to the commission this year is to approve increased parking rates for FY27. We don't take this lightly. Nobody likes increased fees. I don't like increased fees, but I would hate to get to the point where we need to increase fees very significantly instead of what we're suggesting for increased fees now. One other thing, we have come up with solutions for discounted parking, for targeting downtown employees for permits on the outskirts of the downtown core. We are going to look at dedicating 5% of each lot to lower income, and that might include employees downtown and residents. So we have been looking very hard at this, and those are some ideas that we've come up with and some solutions that we've come up with.
Mayor Dean, thank you. Sorry, I didn't maybe lead that the right way. I really appreciate all the work that the Parking Advisory Committee had done. Sorry, I abandoned you back in January, but you've done great work, and I thought it was worth repeating today since this is our last time looking at this as an agenda item, I believe. So thank you for your thoughtful work on this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brandenberger. Mr. Kua, I wonder if really briefly, can you just discuss, we've talked about this in previous meetings for people who are just tuning in. Can you talk a little bit about some of the expenses that the parking fund has to deal with, and how some of these will address some of those very large issues?
Sure, Mayor, so the regular everyday expenses are the ones we can't afford?
I would say let's talk about both.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously, right, when you talk about maintenance, right, we have everyday maintenance, we have weekly maintenance, we have monthly maintenance. That includes anything from just taking out the trash and maybe cleaning up after, litter that was left there, to try and deal with some of the mechanical functions that happen in some of the garages, drainage issues, things like that. So most of that we can fit as is, right? The regular kind of common maintenance activities. Because mostly what it takes is staff time, right? So it's the things that we can't afford that really necessitate the issue of rates, and that is deferred maintenance, things that are so expensive that we can't afford to do them, and so they just get pushed down the road and they get even worse over time. And so from the assessment we had from the Walker Group that looked at all of the garages, right, there's anywhere from, I think on the low end it would be $5 or $6 million, to the high end around $10 million, depending on how long we wait to get to some of those items. And then we have our lots. So a good number of our surface lots are in need, in the very least, of a mill and overlay, but some of them should really just be reconstructed. There are often times that we have equipment in there that they're not really designed to be held for, and so that doesn't help. But our, garages, lots, the on-street parking, the biggest maintenance there really gets helped out by the street team when they come through and do sweeping. So those are some of the things that we can't afford to do typically.
Great, thank you. Any additional comments or questions from the commission? Yes,
Mayor Dean.
Commissioner Rigby.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Thank you for that explanation. That was one of my questions. And then I also want to say thank you to the parking committee. Raising rates is obviously no one's favorite thing to do, but I just want to say I really respect one line that you said on understanding that instead of in 5-10 years, we have to do a $2 increase, doing it 50 cents now helps out the future. Things are only getting more expensive, and instead of having them compound later and everyone be surprised, I appreciate and respect that outlook, so thank you.
Mayor Dean,
Yes, Commissioner Logan.
I guess I'd like to kind of echo those comments. Mr. Brandenberger, in his role on the BID as well as the Parking Advisory Commission, had really given me a good overview of many of the maintenance needs that have been deferred over the years, and it's a function of elected officials over time not really being all that, one of the reasons, not being all that wild about increasing fees, and so I really appreciate Mr. Cooey's and Mr. Brandenberger's presentation tonight about the deferred maintenance can no longer really be afforded to kick into the future. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
I think one final question, just so the public is absolutely clear. These fees do not include increases in transit fees.
Correct,
Is that
Mayor.
Okay,
Yes.
no increases in transit fees.
No.
Thank you. Okay, any final discussion? Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment?
Act that.
Can you state your name for the record?
Oh, Thelma Simon, and I'm a resident of Helena. I don't enjoy using a cane, but I have to because I've fallen so many times. I've fallen in city parking lots. I've fallen in school district parking lots. I've fallen at a rest area parking lot. I mean, you know, it's just, and one of the conditions that I have seen here is that access from a parking lot to a sidewalk is pretty difficult because there's no cutaways. And I'm just wondering that, I'm wondering, since the ADA's been adopted since 1991, and any road improvements are supposed to include cutaways, if that's happened here. And when I heard about the parking rates, I don't know if this is what I'm listening to, but the ride, $4 for a ride. So that means it would cost $8 to go to a senior center to have a $5 lunch. And that seems, and that's supposed to be a social time. I was on a senior center board for 9 years, so I realized, you know, bringing people in and having that social time is really important. But I was told by an employee of the senior center not to come in the wintertime because the parking lot is so bad and she's afraid I'll fall. So I just have some questions about that. And one of the worst ones I had, and a park person said I should mention it, is the parking lot for Memorial Park between the pool and the coffee shop. I have a really hard time getting up on that sidewalk because it's so high. And I don't know if there's a cutaway anywhere to get to the picnic areas. So I'm just concerned about that, and I've met a lot of women. In fact, I've taken 2 classes at the senior center for falling, and I'm listening to everybody else's stories for falling as well. So it seems to be a pretty common thing around here. So I'd hate to have everybody go through the broken bones I've gone through. So anyway, thank you very much for your consideration. And I really was impressed with the letter from the man that couldn't get to where he needed to go, because I've felt that way too at times, and I'm still trying to find an accessible trail. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Any additional public comment? Okay, seeing no additional public comment, is there any additional discussion from the commission? Commissioner Gustafson.
Mayor Dean, thank you. Just a comment I forgot to express earlier with the when the BID was doing their work plan. I appreciate the BID taking a more active role in promoting the parking infrastructure and helping communicate what's out there and what the needs are, and maybe some of the landscaping related to that, because I do think that's an area of important partnership with the BID and the city. So thank you.
All right, seeing no additional public or commission discussion, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Dean,
Yes, Commissioner Logan.
I move approval of a resolution to set fees for the Transportation Systems Department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigby,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Dean.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
All right, so with that, are there any general public comments? So any public comments for any item not listed on this agenda? Any public comment? All right, seeing no public comment, any final comments from the commission? All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned.